In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a line chart. The data used in this example is also linked just next to the video. So I encourage you to follow along. The data itself is stock market data. We have data covering almost a year's worth of data for stock market closing prices for Apple, Starbucks, and Microsoft. The line chart is the perfect type of chart for this data because we have data for each of these three stocks for each given date. And there's only one value for each date because we're only using the closing stock price. So we'll start by selecting all of our data. So I'm going to select starting with cell A1 all the way down through cell D253. Once I have my data selected, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I can either go to Recommended Charts, or I have the line chart that's going to come up. If you select Recommended Charts, the line chart is going to be one of the first options that comes up, because again, it's the most logical one. That'll make the most sense because we're tracking how things are changing over time. So I'm going to go ahead and select the line chart and click OK. Now this instance, since I have this all the way down at the end of my data, and I'm likely going to want to go ahead and move this up to the top of my worksheet, I'm going to select the chart, use Control X to cut the chart up, and I'm scrolling all the way up to the top, selecting a spot closer. So I happen to select cell G2, and then I'm going to use the shortcut, which is Control V, to paste the chart. So I have the basics of my chart, but again, I want to make sure that it's readable, it's easily to understand at a quick glance. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so that you can see all of the options and slide it over a bit. The first thing is I want a meaningful chart title. So I want to go ahead and change this and call it Closing. And all I did was double click on the text, and I'm calling it Closing Stock Values. I could add a little bit more, but I already have a legend that's showing that it's Apple, Starbucks, and Microsoft. So that gives it a little bit more information. The dates are already meaningful. I could add a legend here if I wanted to that would say dates. I could also add a legend here that shows that it's the dollar amount. And I would do that by going up here to Add Chart Element and then Axis Titles. And I could add a primary or a horizontal, primary vertical axis title. In this case, I'm not going to because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. However, I do want to show you a few other options. If I double click on my x-axis, I can go in and I can change my minimum and maximum values. I like that it's set up monthly. If I were to set it up any more than that, say as days, it's going to be too hard to read. So I'm going to want to go back to months there. If I select the size and property options that looks like a box, I can also change my text direction. And so I could rotate this to 270 degrees. And I think that makes it a little bit easier to read because it's straight up and down. And I can find those values. Okay. And what's nice about my chart is it's very intuitive and easy to use. And I can quickly see a trend over time. If I look at my Apple stock closing price in blue, it stays about the same as my orange, which is Starbucks. However, Microsoft is trending upwards, so the closing price is going up.